Good morning, LinkedIn family, La Familia. How are you this morning? It is a lovely Thursday. We are checking in from the greater New York City area. Please let us know where you are checking in. We are here for the one and only Seth M. Rosner. Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Good morning, Heather. I am well. I hope you're the same.
Yes, I am doing quite well. We are going to share with people the 7 key strategies that you've put together from over 25 years as a New York attorney to share with business owners. So I'm always excited about this because, as you know, I'm a serial entrepreneur. A lot of people that and are connected to, either you're representing business owners in your own personal line of work, or you actually are a business owner, right? These are these
Yes,
this is serious, right? So I always like to say, you know, New York legal fees can be very costly, and I'm sure they are otherwise. When you share your information and your wisdom and try to help people not run into you at trial, right? Because then it's a free game for everybody, and you always aim to win. The resources and tools and your commitment to helping business owners become better is just astounding. So, Seth, share with us what was the impetus for you putting together all of this information, your 7 key strategies.
simply to provide a resource for existing business owners or entrepreneurs because people who have an idea or they're in business, they're providing a product or a service, but they don't realize the potential pitfalls that can occur if they're in business or while they're in business. And uh, unfortunately, if you're a business owner, if you get involved in a dispute and you don't have proper protection strategies in place, one major lawsuit could derail your entire business.
One major lawsuit could just knock you out, right? And we're talking about, so obviously we're talking about getting it right from the start, which are startups, people who have a great idea. But you're also talking about well-seasoned business owners who are out in the world running fairly successful businesses. Isn't that right?
Yes, I mean, my firm has had clients that have been conducting business for decades, and they just haven't had a problem until they
Yeah.
have a problem.
Until they have a problem.
And then you start asking questions as the lawyer, and you realize that these existing businesses don't have the strategies in place, and it makes the job more difficult. And unfortunately, in some cases, it can increase the fees involved in trying to deal with the dispute because the more work that your lawyer has to do to get you out of a dispute, the more they're going to charge you. And most business owners, even if they're established, don't want a legal bill that could potentially derail their
Well, let me just
profits.
ask, are there any businesses out there that, wouldn't mind a huge legal bill?
No, well,
I don't think
unless they're trying to get a tax write off, I guess. But I
right.
don't think anyone, whether they're an individual or a business owner, wants to get a huge bill.
Not at all.
But
Not at all.
none of us do. We don't want to pay any more than we have to. But the problem becomes if you don't have these strategies in place before you're in the situation,
It's gonna cost.
you're going to end up paying more money because as the lawyer, you know, I come in after an event has happened. Someone's in business, they're moving through their world, they're conducting deals, they're making money, things are good, and then one moment it's not.
And then
It's
it's
not.
not.
Then it's not. And now,
Absolutely.
now I'm the lawyer, and I come up to you and I say, "Hi, Heather. Great business you have here." And I start saying to you, okay, well, tell me about what happened before the dispute occurred.
Yeah.
Everything was fine until there was a problem. Well, you know, tell me about it.
So let's jump into your 7 key strategies because You have actually dealt with a lot of businesses. You have a ton of stories that are going to
Yes.
really highlight how these things actually come to play. So people, hold on to your seats, take notes, pay attention, because like Seth said, these are some key strategies that can really help you. So strategy 1 is form an independent legal entity using a general counsel attorney versus using a formation website, right? So you work with general counsel attorneys all the time. You don't do what they do. You collaborate to offer greater value to clients. Why are you recommending a general counsel attorney? Because we can obviously go online and form a company right now if we wanted to for $300.
Sure, there are legal document formation companies that will help you create a corporation, an LLC, and there's a place for that. However, what those companies don't give you is they don't give you a strategy. They don't give you support. They're not giving you advice. They're simply, excuse me, creating an entity. And I had a client who had a great idea for a business, and she went to one of these companies and she got her company formed, and then she started working in business and she started making money. The problem is that she had the entity, but there was no support behind it. She didn't have a general counsel attorney whose primary job is to handle the day-to-day issues that a business may face. She didn't even have a CPA to help her with the tax issues. She didn't have a payroll company. She didn't have a financial advisor to guide her through the various stages of her business. I mean, what would happen, for example, if she became very successful and had to do some planning,
It's every
financial
business
planning.
owner's
Right,
goal,
and
right?
that's right. Well, every anyone look, no one goes into business to become poor.
Right.
Everyone wants to make money, they want to succeed. But if you don't have a team behind you of trusted advisors, having the entity is great. But in this particular situation with this particular business owner, she had the entity, but she had no support. So what ultimately happened is she got sucked up into a lawsuit,
Wow.
and her small company wasn't the target of the lawsuit primarily, but she still had to go out of pocket paying for a lawyer and dealing with defending herself in this particular situation, and that was completely unexpected for her. She didn't
And
realize
had
that
she
it
had a
happened.
general counsel,
Well,
she
if she had a general counsel, it still might have occurred, but she
mhm,
would have been in a much better position to defend her business at
mhm.
that point, because now you would have had something have some a professional at the onset saying, okay, here's your written business plan, here's your policy and procedure manual, here's your
All
workflows.
the things that are not so attractive about being a business owner, right?
No, none of it.
The greatest, one of the greatest things about being in this country is that we do have the ability to start a business. Anyone, for the most part, can start a company, and make dreams come true, or at least make your visions that you have manifest and earn a living or become wealthy. And it's just one of the greatest things that we have. Policies and procedures are not things that we normally dream about, right?
No.
But they're critically important, like you said, especially when you do become successful. And, I hope everyone can hear the level headedness that Seth has, right? He said, just because you have a general counsel doesn't mean you won't run into conflict, but the chances are you'll be way more prepared and able to defend yourself, right? Because that's the specific role of a general counsel, is to oversee all of your daily and routine legal concerns, right?
Yes, look, as a trial attorney, I'm brought in because there's a problem, there's an issue,
Hey,
look, there's a fire, I have to put it out. If you have a general counsel, you're you have someone who you can contact on a daily basis if needed, or pick up the phone and say, hey, should I hire this employee, Should I sign this contract?
Right.
Do I need a contract?
Right.
I want to do this deal. Is this good for me? And
Right.
you have someone who's a professional that gives you an independent opinion that says, okay, it could be the best idea in the world, but if it's risky for you, you need someone to actually say to you, hey, there's an area of risk here that you may not be aware of. And that's, a very important role for a lot of general counsels, where they don't tell their clients no unless they have to, but they may suggest a different way to get to the same objective without creating additional risk. and
Absolutely.
and that's why, as a trial attorney, I like working with these people, because if I have an attorney on the other end of the situation in terms of who's been helping the business owner, I know that I'm going to get documents, I'm going to have contracts,
It'll make it easier for
I'm
you
going to
to
have
do your job.
evidence.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that makes it easier
absolutely.
for me. And if it makes it easier for me, in the end, it'll cost the business owner less money.
Hey,
And then if I have to, as they say, recreate the wheel.
absolutely.
Uh, and you're just, and plus, here's the other issue: if you have trusted advisors helping you with your business, you can then, as the business owner, focus on what's most important to you, which is growing your business, and let these other professionals deal with the problems. And that's what we're supposed to
That's
do.
smart, right? That's being a smart business owner. And I just want to emphasize in all of the other points we're about to jump into, Seth, is that you are a trial attorney, right? So you are trying to help people understand what to do from your experience, because when you go into court, you are seeking to win, point blank, period. And it's not often, I feel like, people get wisdom, sage wisdom from the other side of what they could possibly run into, right? So, all of these are based in real life experiences, case studies. The next one we're going to go into is strategy number two. We are a work from home society right now, right? Like, we are working from home more than we ever have before. And a lot of businesses are being run from home. So, your strategy number two is use a dedicated location other than your home, specifically for interactions with employees and customers. Tell us why this is such a big deal.
The, It is because, look, and I'm a fan of work from home. It allows people flexibility. We have the technology now. Look, we're live streaming right now on LinkedIn, and 5 years ago that wasn't a capability. So technology is allowing us to leverage ourselves. However, if you're running a business, you you want to have a dedicated location to meet, if necessary, to meet your customers, clients, and work with your employees. Because here's this is a shout out to all the insurance brokers that might be listening, my friends in the insurance industry. If you have a homeowner's policy
Hey,
on your residence, it's not going to cover you if you're transacting business from your home.
do
You
you
have to,
hear that?
you
All my
have to.
business owners. Yes.
So, so let's just say that running, you're running a well, I'll give you a case study. I know someone who had a salon in their basement years ago, and this is many, many years ago. She was a talented stylist. She had all this equipment in her basement. It was a little functional salon, that wash your hair, cut your hair, do perms, colors, or whatever. But she's running it from the basement of her house. So what happens if one of her clients comes in for a haircut or a color or a perm or whatever, and they slip and fall in the driveway or slip and fall on the stairs as they're walking down to for their appointment? Well, now she would have had a problem, because that particular business owner didn't have the proper insurance coverage to protect herself as a business owner, because you can get a separate insurance policy to cover you. But the other issue is this: you can, especially in this day and age where we have lots of, you see all this news coverage about declining office rents and buildings that are basically ghost buildings.
Sounds, yeah.
There's a lot of class A office space, or if you are
There is.
manufacturing something,
I personally was able to get fantastic Class A office
right?
space. It blew my mind actually, but
Because
yeah,
right, so now if
the
you
market's
have
in
a,
our favor. Yeah.
yeah, the market's now in your favor as a business owner. So now take advantage of that. Now don't lease more space than you require,
Right.
but
Absolutely.
at least now you have an independent place where you're going to
It's safe.
transact
It's
business.
safety too, right? It's also safety and
Well,
security.
yeah, I mean, I don't think you want, most people don't want their clients to know where they live, how they live. You don't want, we've all seen the videos of people doing these online streams and their kids come into the room. I mean, there was this one famous one, I guess there was one on CNN where I remember it happened a couple of years ago during the pandemic, where
Yeah.
someone's doing it from their home, obviously, and their young child walks in, and it's cute and everything, but it doesn't promote a professional image. And if you have an independent location, you can then get a separate insurance policy and cover that location, and then you also can project a more professional image. And
Absolutely. It makes the biggest difference.
nothing wrong with nothing wrong with working from home. If you have to, just make sure you have an independent location where if you have to meet a client, they can walk in and they see an office, and they, if you're manufacturing, they can see your workflow, and they can see how the widgets get made. and
Absolutely.
and that's that really, it's about image as well.
Absolutely. All right. Let's move on to strategy number 3. I hope everybody heard that one. All right. So, the all fantastic and exciting strategy number 3: create simple written policies and procedures so you can increase clarity and decrease confusion and uncertainty. Tell us what you've seen in this space. Why is this strategy number 3, Seth?
The strategy is number 3 because if you're a business owner, you had an idea for a product or service, and you formed a company, and you're in business and you're doing your thing. Policies and procedures allow you to do two things. One is to do it the way you want it done, because you're in business, because you want to do it your way. To
Absolutely.
paraphrase Frank Sinatra. But more importantly, if they're written policies and procedures, and again, it doesn't have to be a traditional employee handbook. It could be a web portal now. Everything's in the digital age and easily updatable. But if
Yes.
you have written policies and procedures, when you onboard employees, it allows them to understand what the expectations are, what the company's policies are, what standards are they going to have to follow. And it's not just an HR manual. You can also create policies and procedures about the workflow, how you want the work to be done,
Absolutely.
and under what time frames. And as a business owner, and again, this is where general counsels come in. A general counsel attorney can help you draft these policies and procedures. And at a bare minimum, what it does is it allows you to hold your employees accountable, because now they can understand what's expected of them. If you don't have anything tangible in terms of policies and procedures, they're learning on the fly, and the, they're not going to
And
remember.
possibly teaching others the wrong way to do it as well.
Well, right. But now, if there's a manual, whether it's electronic or a
Yeah,
paper handbook,
it's so
they
important. It
but
takes
also,
time to put together, but it's so worthwhile for the clarity. And it's also, it increases value, right? When you have
well,
written policies and procedures, it increases your company's value.
yes, and here's the end result. At some point, maybe a business owner wants to sell their business or
Right.
retire. If you have written policies and procedures,
Hmm.
systems, workflows in place, the value of your company is enhanced. you'll get more
Yes.
money from that.
You will get more money for it. Yeah, because it's more turnkey, and that's what everybody's looking for, right?
Yeah, everyone wants a turnkey operation. They want to jump into it and start making money from day one after they buy the business.
Yep.
So that's why not capitalize on that at the start so you can get a larger.
Yeah. And if you're not at the start, get it going. Reach out to Seth. He knows how to recommend people to you. His network is massive. Now, this one always surprises me, right? Strategy number 4, use simple yet complete written contracts with your employees, contractors, and vendors. How many times have you seen this gone amok?
Lots, many times. It's most of the business litigation that I have handled in my career either involves no contract, no written contract in a deal, or a poorly drafted contract.
Hmm.
And what you're doing as the lawyer, if there's no clear, concise, complete written contract, you're essentially trying to piece together the parts of the deal when that whole exchange may have taken over a year or more to occur. And if there's no written contract, how are both sides to a deal going to understand who's going to do what by when and for how much and what's the expectation? If you
So
have it,
I won't ask people, if you have written contracts or not, but for our audience out there, why do you think, and Seth, you can answer this question too, why do you think people don't use written contracts?
two reasons that I see. One is they're so absorbed in the deal at the moment because they want to transact business,
Right.
that they're so focused on the objective, which is making the deal happen,
Hmm.
that they don't realize that things may fall apart 6 months after the fact, a year after the fact, 2 years
Right.
after the fact. Everything's all flowers and champagne in the beginning of a relationship. Later on, when
Flowers
there's
and champagne and money.
right, everyone's happy in the beginning, but
Right.
6 months later, maybe someone's not so happy. and
Exactly.
and that's where you want a contract to protect yourself. There are other reasons to have a contract as well. People say to me, well, you know I, who's going to pay for my lawyer? Well, the great thing about a contract is you can insert a little what they call attorney's fees clause in a
Yes.
contract, and you can say that the winning party gets their legal fees from the losing party. And that clause has a great effect in the litigation because if it's there, then the losing side realizes they might be on the hook for additional money. But if no one has it,
Substantial money.
right? But if it's not in the contract, or if there is no contract, then both sides are bearing their own costs in a dispute, and it could run into tens of thousands of dollars or more.
Right.
So have a contract, and again, it
Have a
doesn't
contract. Business 101.
it doesn't have to be 1,000 pages or 100 pages. You can write a simple 4 or 5, 9 page, 10 page contract that has all the items you are required to have and move forward. You just have to have, again, this is where having an experienced
General
general
counsel.
counsel
Yeah.
attorney who is used to drafting contracts. For me, I don't primarily draft contracts. My skill is reviewing them and then either enforcing them or trying to break them,
I like it, right.
depending on
Depending
depending on
who's
who's
hired you.
right,
Right.
depending on who's
Yeah.
hired me. So,
Yeah.
but most of the time, I'm trying to enforce a contract.
Right.
So because the other side is attempting to break it, and I want to see a nice balanced document because again, if even if you have a contract, if remember you have to have a properly drafted one. You don't want to have a one-sided punitive looking contract where now you have to go into court and convince a judge to see in
He
your
had good
favor. The judge is
intentions.
gonna
Yeah.
the judge is gonna review the contract, and it may it's not going to help your cause if the contract isn't fair and balanced.
Right.
So it's like I said,
Things
it's
that we don't think about, right? So it seems rudimentary, but the fact of the matter is you have seen a lot of cases
yes. I,
because there was not a decent contract in
oh,
place.
I'm involved. My office now is litigating cases right now where there's no written contract.
No
There's a
written
case now
contract.
where we're dealing with in federal court where there was a deal and there was no written contract, and unfortunately the deal fell apart about a year into the process. And since there's no written contract, it's a free for all.
Wow.
Because if there was one, it may have prevented the lawsuit from ever being filed. Because the
Exactly.
and it would have been easy to have the contract. And again, you can use these contracts over and over as
Yes.
long as you properly modify them. Once you create them, you can adapt them. Your lawyer can adapt them to different
Right. So
situations.
you could pay a couple of $1,000s for a really solid contract that will save you who knows how much money in the future and
It'll
hopefully
cert
make business run smoother.
It certainly will, because it look, a proper contract. Even look, if you have a contract with your employees, you don't have to have a written employee contract in New York. But if you do, then your employee knows what's expected of them. They know what salary they're going to receive. They know what benefits they're going to get.
Mhm.
They they know what the terms of the deal are.
Things we
and
should think about.
and
Absolutely.
the same thing with vendors. The same thing with your customers or clients. If they see a written document and they review it, they know what the parameters are. And again, who look, do you know what you did 6 months ago? I
Off the top
don't.
of my head, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
So if you transact business today and there's a written contract signed today, you put it in the file, and then if there's a problem in 6 months,
Reference it.
you
Yeah.
can go back to the contract,
Yeah.
and that's a good starting point.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into point 5, right? And I know
Yes.
you're dealing with a case like this as well. Have a records retention policy and follow it diligently. Having the relevant documents in your possession will save you money in future litigation costs.
So here's the issue. We live in a digital age,
Yes, we do.
so we should utilize strategies to keep documents. You don't have to keep a traditional file cabinet anymore. You can
Mhm.
have a digital file cabinet where you can store email messages, text messages, video recordings. People record their Zoom calls or other live
Just
streams.
yeah, there's a lot of recorded and digital information that really
So
documents we use for
in
documentation.
my career, here's the problem. You're in business. You're focused on, as a business owner, what's in front of you today.
Mhm.
If you don't have a document retention policy, let's say 6 months from now you're in a dispute with whom you believed either was a good client, a good customer, a good employee. As the attorney, the first question I'm going to ask you when we accept the case is going to say to you, how do you prove what you're saying is true?
Right.
Where's your proof? Do you have email messages for me? Do you have, is there a paper file? I mean, some older clients still have paper
Mhm.
files. Where's someone's signature on the contract? We do digital signatures now on
Yep, we
on
sure do.
contracts.
Yep.
So it's easy to do that. But if you don't have the proof to support what you're saying is true, then it's more difficult to convince a judge and a jury later on that you're the one that's correct.
And then
And
if someone like you has to be brought in or your firm to actually construct these records, it's going to cost them a pretty penny.
do you want to pay? Yeah. Do you want to pay me and my team an hourly rate to go through your email server and pull out the emails because you didn't segregate them properly? I mean, I have experts that'll do that. We've imaged people's email servers in the past and we've gone through them, and you know, it's expensive.
It's very
And again,
expensive.
it's less expensive if you hire me and you say, okay, Seth, send me a link. I'll send you the contents of our deal. I have everything. I have email messages. I have, I have text messages. I have encrypted messages. There are various apps now that you can have conversations with people.
Yeah.
Save these things.
It's real
Screenshots.
life, right? It's real life. You're currently, I mean, I don't know if that case has closed, but you shared with me that you were working with a business owner who did had no retention policy
No,
and is now trying to explain what happened during the course of, serving her clients.
right. And the problem there is that when you want to reconstruct events when you don't have all the documents, the problem you have is twofold. One is it costs more money
Mhm.
because
Costs a lot more. Yeah.
because you don't have the documents. If you had them, I could review them quickly and come up with a strategy for you.
Mhm.
But now I'm searching for them. I'm on the phone
And
with the
you're gonna
business
miss
owner.
stuff. It's not gonna be complete. It's gonna have
No,
holes. It's gonna be costly, and you're gonna miss it. All right, let's move on to 6, which is always the fun part. Plan safe holiday parties and events. So we don't have a holiday coming up that's a big deal, but we have some warm weather. And people like to celebrate the summer, starting with Memorial Day. So you want to create an internal policy for your employees, clearly stating what behavior is acceptable and what is not.
so
Now, we're
this
all of a certain age
yes,
to
but
have been to certain holiday parties and events at work that went awry. Tell us why this is so important.
this is important because this is a liability risk. Um, Look,
Mhm.
everyone wants to have a good time. You also want to have a successful company event because
Yes.
either you're celebrating or you're celebrating your clients.
Rewarding your
You're
employees.
Yeah, you're rewarding employees. You're giving a benefit, but you know there's a way to do it, and one way I would say primarily is you got to manage expectations. You don't want to
Mhm.
make it a mandatory event, but send out an email in your company a month before it happens saying we're going to have our annual barbecue at this location. For example, I pick barbecue because we're in May now,
Yeah.
and the weather is improving, so we're going to have a barbecue and we're going to have it at this location, and here's the company's expectations about behavior. If you're going to serve alcohol, i would I would hire professional bartenders
Mhm.
with insurance policies so they have their own insurance. Because in the past, when I used to give this presentation, a longer presentation to business owners, I would weave in stories. There was one case involving a beer distributor who
Mhm.
provided unlimited alcohol at their barbecue, and a bunch of their employees unfortunately overindulged, and some of them got into their cars after the event, and unfortunately they didn't make it home safely, and they
Right.
injured people on that. uh,
Which is not that's no laughing matter. It's
no, it's
nothing
not.
anyone wants to ever deal with, but it's a real situation, right? So one of the points that I love you make is, it's not taxi vouchers anymore, right?
Right.
But enable, maybe you would like to offer your employees a ride share
Sure.
or, a ride share voucher or something like that. Back in the days when I was working in corporate, it was generally held at a place that was very close to a hotel, so that blocks of rooms were made available either complimentary or at a discounted block rate. So these are some of the things that really need to be emphasized and taken care of and paid attention to, because the risk that can happen. You're talking about people not getting home well after an event and harming other people. So as we warm up here in the Northeast and all around the country, be sure to seek out some advice for how what kind of communication and standards and policies should I put out for any formal company gatherings. And again, those type of services can be gained through hiring and having a general counsel attorney. Now, this is a great one. You have a fantastic community of insurance brokers, and you are known for advocating for proper insurance. So, strategy number 7, obtain proper insurance coverage for your specific business. Don't underinsure yourself or business to save money, because we all know that can cost you big in the long run. So tell us, you mentioned it earlier, making the simple mistake of not having business insurance when you're working from home. What else have you seen? Are you seeing? What's going on with this one, Seth?
Well, there's a lot of examples, and this topic I know is near and dear to all the insurance brokers out there because they do want to have their clients properly insured.
Properly insured, right?
So here's, aside from the new topics like cyber coverage, traditionally, you know, have workers' comp because the penalties for not having workers' comp are severe.
Hmm.
The other issue I used to shock business owners with is non-owned auto coverage. For example,
Yes.
if you have an employee and they drove to the work site, and or you're transacting business out of an office somewhere or a factory somewhere, and you say to them, "Hey, uh, go pick up this widget," and they get in their car during working hours and they drive to the location to pick up the widget you asked them to get. Well, if they get into a car collision or they hit a pedestrian on the way there, then you better have non-owned auto coverage for your business, because as soon as the injured person's lawyer finds out that the worker who hit them was on the clock, they're going to name your business as an additional defendant in a lawsuit. Other types of coverage, just on the personal end of things, um, having proper uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage to
This is a
protect
big deal.
to
Yes.
protect yourself. In New York, the other coverage that people don't realize, if you're married, you can get supplemental spousal liability coverage. It's really
Hmm.
cheap. New York, as far as I'm aware, is the only state in the United States that allows for supplemental spousal coverage. So if you and your spouse are are driving in the same car and you're going out to dinner or you're going to a movie or you're going to the grocery store and the driver's spouse is involved in a collision, the passenger spouse can then not only sue both drivers, but your insurance company will then indemnify the spouse driver if you have that rider on your policy.
Right.
So you have to have an intelligent conversation with your insurance broker about what risks you're facing and
Hmm.
whether or not there are gaps in the coverage. I mean, I remember I had a business owner client who had an operations, a COO, and the COO, to save on the premium cost, canceled their their EPLI
Yes.
coverage, which is their employee practices liability coverage, to save $3,000 a year. And I'm said, wait a minute, they just canceled. He just canceled the coverage. And I called the business owner when I found out about that, and the business owner actually dressed down their employee and said, "Why are you trying to? Why am I saving pennies, but my exposure is now thousands or tens of thousands of dollars?" And they, of course, reinstated the coverage. But that happened. Someone said, "Oh, we could save money." The other,
And that's, you see that too, like with same as filing for a company, forming your company online.
yeah,
People are going online and just trying to get the cheapest coverage, or save a few bucks, or get their coverage from different places, and they don't have the full picture of, like you said, where they're exposed or gaps in their coverage. So that's why it's so important to have a professional.
right. I would just look. My advice to everyone in general is when you speak to your insurance broker is you don't purchase insurance on the basis of the premium cost,
Right.
because unfortunately, you know, quality costs more. You know,
Quality does cost more.
if you want to go with a cheap insurance policy, you can find one, I'm sure, but
Hmm.
that doesn't mean when you have a claim that you're going to be protected.
at all.
And I've seen that not just in in business, for business owners. I've seen that with personal insurance, whether it's homeowners or auto, umbrella coverage. If you're choosing your insurance company solely on the basis of what it costs you for the premium, that's not the strategy you should be following. Because if unfortunately you find yourself in a situation where you have a claim, you want to know that you have a good insurance company that's actually going to be working with you
Mhm.
instead of against you. And
And there's a lot
unfortunately,
that you shared, insurance lapse, right? That companies weren't aware of because somebody didn't do the right thing, or they missed the boat on taking care of a key responsibility and the policies lapse. So you really want to make sure you have a key person that is going to look out for your best interest personally and professionally. um and you're a big advocate for that. So Seth, these have been your 7 key strategies. You can tell stories for days. Unfortunately, good for you, bad for some people, that all of these errors and incidences do occur. But I know I would want you in my corner, not against me if I was ever in trial. And so we want to invite everyone, the business owners, the insurance brokers, the general counsel, and individuals who are facing serious personal injury cases, to reach out and to set a complimentary call with Seth. We have you can see his telephone number there, 516-240-8218. This is a LinkedIn live event, so you can send them a direct message on LinkedIn, or you can scan this QR code here. You can book an appointment using this QR code. You can book a free meeting with Seth on his profile. Um, and really see how he can serve you, how you can collaborate, and how you can share some wisdom together to better serve your clients if you are a general counsel or broker. For small business owners, I highly recommend Seth, and getting to know him and letting him know a bit about your business before you absolutely need him, because some opportunities may have been missed, to say the least. To say the least. Seth, any final comments or closing remarks for your audience here today?
all I would say is that don't be afraid to reach out.
Right.
Business owners, unfortunately, or even individuals, they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And you may think you're doing the right thing in a particular situation, but seek the professional advice that will allow you to make an informed choice before it's too late.
Before
You know,
you
we're
need it. Yeah.
yeah, you're a lot of this comes out in terms of prior planning. We all want to we all want to do things the right way. We all want to be successful, but a lot of it involves a lot of preparation. You want to take all these steps today because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And a short consultation with someone like me can crystallize your thinking and allow you to move forward in a better position. You're never going to eliminate risk in life. There's risks in life every day, but the real theme of these strategies is risk mitigation,
Yes.
reducing risk,
Reducing risk.
and allowing people, whether they're in their business or in their personal lives, to continue to move forward
Yes.
and to be protected. And that's essentially what what lawyers do, is we help people. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. You may think that you're spending too much money because you're going to pay for a lawyer, pay for an accountant, pay for a financial advisor. But it's cheaper if you engage in prior preparation than
So true.
if you want to hire people after the situation has gone terribly wrong. And that's what I would have to convey to people is that really take the steps today to implement these strategies, and you will find yourself in a much better place if, unfortunately, in the future you're involved in some sort of mishap or dispute.
Absolutely true. Great advice. Thank you for sharing your sage wisdom, Seth. You know, this is something that you are dealing with for over 25 years as a New York trial attorney, a successful New York trial attorney, one of the most ethical people that I know. And I hope that everybody is really gleaning from what he has shared today. Thank you so much, good people. We wish you the very best. And we'll see you on our next LinkedIn Live.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
You too.